I accused my friend of being a cheater and a gold digger, and I just now found out the real reason why she broke up with her ex. I don't think I can ever forgive myself. I've known my friend since we started high school and knew her ex for even longer. His mom and my mom were colleagues and friends from work for 20 years. He and my friend started dating straight out of high school and were together for 3 years before suddenly breaking up. It was really sudden and unexpected, because he had approached me only a few weeks earlier looking to get some advice on an engagement ring, as he was planning on proposing within the next few months. He was really giddy and excited during the whole process, and couldn't stop gushing about her and how excited he was to marry her. So when they broke up, I knew it wasn't mutual, and I knew that my friend had initiated it. I spoke to her every day about everything, and she had never once spoken about him negatively to me in the months before they broke up. And if she was upset or angry with him, I would always be the first to know. When they broke up, I was there to support my friend and comfort her first and foremost, but I was also curious as to what happened. Every time I tried to gauge what caused the breakup, she gave me very vague answers about how he wasn't the right person, they had just drifted apart, etc. I wasn't convinced, but as happens, so I let it go. Not even 5 weeks after breaking up with him, she had a new boyfriend. They had obviously been talking for quite some time before then, because the first time I ever met him their relationship status was already official. Now this guy was hard on the eyes and nothing like her usual type, but I soon found out that he had a very lucrative job, which answered my question as to why she was dating him. I pulled her over privately and asked if she had cheated on her ex with him for his money, which she vehemently denied. Still, there were too much evidence for this not to be the case, so I always believed she cheated on her ex and left him to be with her new man. I wasn't the only one, and a few of our other mutual friends had approached me with the same suspicions. I can't lie, this did drastically change how I saw her, because infidelity has always been a red line for me. My friends and I slowly distanced ourselves from her and wanted nothing to do with her new boyfriend. I would still catch up with her occasionally, but our relationship was nothing like it had been before. That was just over 2 years ago, and I only just found out the real reason for the breakup now. And I don't think I can ever forgive myself, and I know there's no chance in hell she will ever forgive me for how I treated her. I stopped by my mom's house last night and ex's mom was there, and when I walked in, her and my mom were discussing a Facebook post they had just seen. The post was my friend announcing her pregnancy, which I was already aware of. Mom told me how I must be so happy for my friend and was gushing about how lovely the news was. Surprisingly, ex's mom also issued the same sentiment. She said she was over the moon for my friend after everything that happened with ex and looked to me for agreement. I told her I was unsure of what she meant, and she looked confused, concerned, and eventually told me the full story. My friend suffered from endometriosis and had relating fertility issues that ran in the family. So she told her ex at the start of the relationship that if she ever got pregnant she was keeping it, and if he wasn't happy with that then he shouldn't date her. Shortly before they broke up she found out she was pregnant. He tried to convince her to get an abortion, but obviously she refused. He eased up after that and acted supportive about the pregnancy. Turns out he actually began spiking all of her drinks with alcohol and other substances to try and induce a miscarriage. When she found out, she packed a bag and left him immediately. She confided in her ex's mom as they had always been extremely close, and she was like another mother to her. She also wanted to let her know about the pregnancy in case she ever wanted to meet her grandchild. Unfortunately, she miscarried several days later. I had been speaking to my friend throughout this whole ordeal without any idea what had been going on. While she was mourning her lost baby and a disgusting betrayal, I was there trying to probe her for answers for why she ended the relationship for my own satisfaction. When she needed support the most, I accused her of something unfathomable and distanced myself from her and encouraged my other friends to do the same. I'm not looking for anything from Reddit. I can never even forgive myself from this. I'm just racked up with guilt and disgust at myself. I can't even imagine how desperate she was for support that she still tried to reach out to me despite everything I accused her of. I've tried to reach out to her since I found out to try and repair our relationship, but she deserves so much better than me. I don't think I can ever forgive myself, nor do I deserve to ever live this down. Story 2. I'm married and I tested positive for a STI. Both my husband and I were virgins when we met and we're in a monogamous relationship. We just celebrated 4 years together. None of this makes sense. Truthfully, I don't believe he cheated. I know I probably sound like I'm in denial, but even my doctor seemed confused at the test result. A month ago, I had an IUD inserted. I had issues arise from it, so we decided to get it removed. Because of these issues, we didn't really have sex. We did 1-2 times with a condom in the week after the IUD was inserted and once without a condom the night or two before my IUD was removed. At the time of removal, I mentioned I thought I might have an infection like BV and was checked for it. Here's the thing, when I first got the IUD in, I tested negative for any infections or STIs in general. Now, when the IUD was removed, I tested positive for BV and an STI known as Mycoplasma genitalium when he sent the swabs or samples or whatever you call it off to the lab. lab, so I would have had to have contracted it during the time between me getting my IUD inserted and before its removal. Thing is, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for my husband to have cheated at all. I can't even imagine that possibility realistically but also logistically. He's been with me unless he was at work. We live 10 to 15 minutes away from his job and he leaves 20 minutes before work, which gives him enough time to park, walk to his unit, and clock in. He arrives home on time every night and in uniform, leaving straight from work to home. I see his schedule and his pay stubs. I know those are the hours he's working. He gets one paid break where I bring him food or coffee or we chat through text the whole time essentially. Other than going to work, he's been home. Anytime we went out together. There's literally no time he could have even cheated if he did. The only other times he's been alone was to pick up a curbside grocery order about 10 minutes away, 10 minutes back, and he was back home within 25 minutes, 30 minutes, or when he picked up one of our 2 children from a relative's house and went straight there and straight back. My doctor said he's sending another sample to the lab for testing, and I'll get the results back in a few days. I was a bit caught off guard in the clinic and I did cry. But, as I said, even my doctor said he didn't believe the results at first and wanted to run them again because I tested negative at the IUD insertion. They just needed a new sample to test again since they couldn't reuse the one they had. I told them it has to be a mistake, it literally doesn't make sense. When I got home, I was crying and my husband seemed concerned for me and asked what the doctor said. He just knew I got a call to come in about some results. I was struggling to find the words and was just crying and hesitating before I could speak when he hugged me and held me tight and asked what happened. That was actually when I was able to spit it out. I wanted his comfort so bad but couldn't stand it if he was a cheater. I said, "Please be completely honest with me, did you cheat?" He wasn't defensive. He wasn't angry. He didn't even hesitate. He just looked me square in the eye and said so confidently, "No, I have never cheated." I told him about the STI result. He repeated that he didn't cheat, and as we talked more, he seemed genuinely confused. It's like he went through all the emotions I did when I got the news. He offered up his phone and said he has nothing to hide. He wanted to get tested right away to prove he didn't spread it to me and reassured me he didn't cheat. He even gave me his phone for me to share our locations with each other. I told him to wait for the next results before getting tested because I'm sure I'm just one of those rare cases of a false positive. He didn't seem angry at me for asking. He was actually really confused as to how I could have gotten it, and it was literally us just trying to give theories as to how I got a false positive for hours, but all of them felt like a stretch. We discussed the possibility of a false positive. We discussed how there must be a mistake. My doctor said it can only be contracted through a swapped sample or something. My husband works healthcare and knows that try as they might to prevent accidents happening, mistakes from human error are a thing. We keep telling ourselves it has to be some kind of human error. I know he didn't cheat. He couldn't have. I know I didn't cheat. Even he knows that, with both of us pointing out we've been together except when he's working. I know he couldn't have cheated. It doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. I know people in love still cheat, but we literally haven't had any problems in our relationship. We very much love each other. I can't see him hurting me like this. I just don't know what to think. It all feels so unreal. We're both really confused and I feel at a loss for how to go from here. What happens if I get another positive result? What happens if I don't? What's scary is thinking I'll get a positive but have no clue how it got there, especially if he tests negative, because truthfully, I can't even see logistically how he could have cheated when he's been home with me except for work. None of this makes sense. From the comments, I tested positive for a STI too, been with my husband for 20 years, started crying my eyes out at the appointment. They swore up and down they knew I had it. Came home, opened that can of worms with my husband, didn't sleep for 3 nights, started medication, the whole shebang. Ended up just having a false positive. Also, my brother had a false positive on a HIV test. That was a heck of a ride. This does happen. OP, thank you for sharing. I was looking into the likelihood of false positives and it was so low, but my doctor reassured me it's possible. I cried my eyes out last night and I'm still upset thinking about this, but at least I know there's a chance everything is gonna be okay.